60 to 85 million. That is the number of people that were estimated to have been killed over the course of World War II. The world prefers to remember the war as one that had most of the killing take place in valiant efforts, such as on the shores of Normandy. Unfortunately, most of the deaths took place in scenes far from the front lines. Both the Allies and the Axis used brutal tactics in an attempt to win. Whether it was the Allied firebombing of Axis cities, or the Nazi regime's use of factories for killing those deemed undesirable to the Third Reich. But then again, some of the people who died during the war did not die because of hate or revenge. Niall Clark Kinnick Jr. was one of those men who bravely served and died for his country, not because of the enemy, but rather an accident. Kinnick opens up a unique window of interpretation into all of the potential that was lost due to the lives of so many being cut short. At the same time, Kinnick epitomizes why the generation that fought for America in World War II is known today as the greatest generation. Niall Clark Kinnick Jr. was born in 1918 in Iowa. Niall was recognized as a natural leader early in his life. One of Kinnick's teammates on a grade school football team said, "Niall was a coach on the field. He directed the team." His teammates thrived on Kinnick's abilities as a leader. A few years later, Kinnick enrolled at the University of Iowa in 1936, where he became a legend. By the time Kinnick entered his senior year at Iowa, the football team was a powerhouse that was commonly referred to as the Iron Men of Iowa. The team was led by none other than senior captain Niall Kinnick. In one of Iowa's most storied seasons, the football team and Kinnick enjoyed great success. Among other awards, Niall won the Heisman Trophy and was voted the best male athlete in all of sports that year. Perhaps Kinnick's most important moment in 1939 was delivering his Heisman speech, which captured the sentiment of the nation's youth perfectly. He says, "I thank God I was warring on the gridirons of the Midwest, and not the battlefields of Europe." This speech jolted Kinnick into the national spotlight as not only an accomplished athlete, but a man who had the characteristics necessary for a prolific career in politics. That is why, upon graduation, Kinnick elected to go to law school at Iowa. When it seemed inevitable that the United States was going to enter World War II, Kinnick enlisted in the Navy in September of 1941. 3 days prior to the attack on Pearl Harbor, Niall was called to active duty. Niall Kinnick's father convinced him to keep a wartime journal. In his first entry, Kinnick says, "Every man whom I've admired in history has willingly and courageously served in his country's armed forces in a time of danger." He then follows that by talking about what an honor it is that he has his opportunity. The juxtaposition of his first journal entry and Kinnick's Heisman speech show that though the nation was not particularly excited to fight the war, the men knew it was their duty to fight for a cause such as freedom. Niall Kinnick became an officer in the Naval Air Corps and was trained to fly fighter planes. Being deployed in 1942 on the aircraft carrier Lexington, Kinnick keeps his patriotic spirit alive and proudly states in a letter to his parents, "There is no reason why we shouldn't suffer to uphold that which we want to endure." What Kinnick believed they should endure is the chance for people to live freely. The enthusiasm to fight is rooted in the struggle between oppression and freedom. Kinnick thus represents the ideal member of the greatest generation because, as he says, "I am quite certain that I can meet any foe confident and unafraid." A common theme of those in the greatest generation was to overcome the fears of war because these men believed in their cause. On June 2, 1943, Kinnick's plane, during a routine patrol, was forced to perform an emergency landing in the ocean. His body as well as his plane were never recovered. Just like that, all that potential was lost at sea. In many letters to his parents, he notes what an honor it would have been to serve in the U.S. government when he was done with the war. Furthermore, after his Heisman speech, many respected newspapers, including the Des Moines Register, had Kinnick slated to run for president after he turned 35, which would have potentially pitted him against JFK for the presidency. Like the millions of other people who perished in World War II, there are so many feats left void due to the absence of those that would have fulfilled them. There is no doubt that World War II caused over 60 million journeys to be cut short and lost, but the war also gave rise to the greatest generation of people of our time, who overcame so much oppression and hate. Instead of responding with more loathing and anger, these people sought justice and were motivated to rebuild a devastated world. They would hope that the people who were lost because of the war, like Kinnick, would have been proud to see that freedom ultimately prevailed.